Today we're going to talk about investing based on income levels, and I'm going to be direct. I'm going to have some assumptions in today's discussion, so don't take any offense, okay? But I genuinely want to show you things that you haven't seen elsewhere, okay? So with that, let's roll in the intro video. Hi guys, welcome back. When it comes to different income levels, the biggest difference is not just how much you can invest, it also impacts what you can invest, what kind of opportunities. In addition, you also get to see what other income groups are doing. Okay, so let's get started with the first income group, which is from 0 to 80,000 annual income. Take home pay for this could be around $4,000 to $5,000, and income tax is still not a problem. Maybe a few $100s per year, and therefore there's also no need for SRS top-up. SRS, if you don't know already, is Supplementary Retirement Scheme. It's meant for you to save up to age 62 or 63 and you get tax relief in the process. I also think that there's also no real urgency to do special account SA top-ups for tax relief. If you have savings, it's much better to start investing and invest it well. Because ultimately you want retirement also, correct? And retirement, I can reassure you, can be done at any income level. Usually with this income level, unless you are at the tail end of your career, the investment portfolio is usually still small. And therefore, with a 10% gain on 100,000, that's a 10,000 gain. That doesn't seem big enough to move the needle to help you in retirement. I understand it. So typically the lure is to accelerate the return rate instead of the capital, which is a mistake. There are stories always of people trying to take shortcuts and buy crypto, buy all-in Tesla. These kind of things don't do. Don't because investment amounts are smaller, we speculate and aim for high return. Yes, there can be some periods of high return, but if you look long term, usually it's one step up, one step down. When it comes to wealth building, it's always very funny. The more you rush for it, the worse it becomes. Shortcuts are always there to trip us all up. So in that line, don't look so much for trading courses that build you passive income, so on and so forth. Usually they make the financial equation worse. If you can, work to improve your income level, but also don't worry, there's this story of a janitor who never earned more than $45,000 a year. He saved and invested prudently and along the years built up a very big investment pot, rumored to be $8 million. He donated that sum away and therefore that story came up when people couldn't believe that he amassed such a big amount of wealth. So moral of the story is slow and steady can win the race. You just need to expect to play the game of finance a little bit longer. And the first thing to note again is you need to prioritize having your emergency savings. 6 months, 12 months depends on your life stage and your situation, such as whether you have dependents, children, but try to keep that small also. Look to invest as much as you can and be in equities. Broad-based equities are no need for individual stock speculation. Slow and steady, you can get to retirement. Next income group, $80,000 to $160,000. Income tax, you may think it's a problem. It is. You are indeed paying a few $1,000s of income tax already, but also it's not too big a problem. You should have some spare savings lying around. CPF special account top-up, for example, right now makes sense. And tax relief for CPF SA top-up can be up to $8,000. Of course, SRS top-up should also be done because that also helps you reduce taxes. And again, whatever invested in SRS, please go and invest it into equities. I've seen so many situations whereby SRS is deposited into Singapore Savings Bonds. Singapore Savings Bonds, SSB, is meant for liquidity. It's best as maybe emergency cash. SRS, especially if you're younger, you still have so long a runway. You can't touch it, right? So might as well get it invested in equities. By the way, you can buy Singapore stocks also with SRS. But for myself right now, I'm moving away from Singapore stocks into a diversified portfolio, even for my own SRS. If you're curious about it, leave in the comment sections, I'll share with you why. Next, I also generalize a bit based on my own experience. And feel free to comment below whether you agree or not. There are two big risks, especially which I see friends, families, clients in this income group. The first risk is lifestyle inflation. Especially if you are younger and getting pay raises, now moving past 100,000 of annual income, this starts to allow you to buy more stuff. And friends in your social circle may be doing well also. You know, cars are so expensive these days. And if you buy a car in this income level, sometimes the expenses start to get stretched. I'm guessing also that you are in a sphere whereby you know of friends, colleagues who are earning less, but you also know of many who appear to be earning much more. How much more again, you don't really know. And therefore, if you try to match up to their lifestyle, buy a better car, buy a better house, dine better, buy expensive stuff for kids, lifestyle inflation starts to come in. That is why also some in this income group are able to save 50% and more, whereas some are still living paycheck to paycheck, even though they are earning better than median income already. The second big risk is the lure of property investment. I'm saying lure of property investment because if one is savvy, yes, property can make you money, but the lure part is when the idea of sell your HDB to buy 2 private properties start to come in. I have previous tutorials touching on that also. And the problem these days is that 2-bedroom condos are already costing more than $1.2, $1.5 million. At this loan size, you realize if you own it as an investor, it stretches your expenses up. In many metrics, it's actually unaffordable. I know property agents might disagree, I understand it, but that's really how I feel about prudency. Because topic today is about what to invest, I would suggest also, at this income range, you should be aiming to save and invest at least 50% of your income. That allows you to have a good shot at financial independence, retire early, FIRE. If you stay in a house that you can comfortably pay off, you have a high savings ratio, you realize based on this chart that if you save 50%, you can retire in 17 years. You're age 38 now, you can retire at age 55. This table again is assuming 5% per annum rate of return. Pretty conservative if you're into equity investments. Then if you're able to save and invest 65% of your income, take note, you can reach financial independence in 10.5 years. That is pretty good, right? And as always, if the target is 5% rate of return, you will simply reach there by being broad-based when you invest. You really don't need stock picks if you don't like. If you love stocks, like myself, you like to read companies, then that's a different story. But if you really want just financial freedom, being broad-based, you can get there already. How to get there? Maybe I'll just touch on it quickly. Some simple examples are index funds that are built for private clients. Be globally diversified. There are also world ETFs, emerging market ETFs, Singapore STI ETFs. But the trick again becomes how to be broad-based and how to be savvy and not chase trends excessively. Right now, the hottest trend is in semiconductors. There are semiconductor ETFs, which could be speculative already. When we are broad-based, we do not need sector bets even. By being diversified and using the right investment principles, getting to financial freedom becomes a certainty. With that, let's move on to the next income group, which is $160,000 to $300,000. Right now, income tax really stinks already. Now you pay more than $10,000 per year, which is $1,000 per month easily off your take-home pay. Any income tax relief ideas you see based on your tax bracket would be easily 15 to 20% savings. You reduce your chargeable income by $10,000, you save $1,500 to $2,000. So on and so forth. And surprisingly, not everybody in this tax bracket actually still know or pay attention to tax relief ideas. I have private clients that I've seen before in this income bracket that haven't opened SRS before even. Or they imagine that they need the cash and they don't want to lock it up in SRS, which in my opinion doesn't quite make financial sense. Take note again, at this income range, you are way above median income, which means also if you work your finances prudently, you should be able to save and invest big amounts. Getting to $1 million should be very easy. In fact, mathematically, you have a good shot of building a $5 million investment pot with enough time. I'm serious. And to build good wealth, you need 2 things. The first is good investment systems or a good approach. In my opinion, bankers tend to sell fancy stuff because right now you're in priority banking, correct? I feel usually the products and suggestions made are not that good. I would like to think that I can do a much better job, build a growth portfolio properly up, buy stocks when it's favorable, and build wealth prudently. If you'd like to find out how to become a private client of mine, look for my links below. The second part you need is patience. This may require coaching. I have private clients who have been through the journey of different income groups and along the way try to accelerate wealth by being speculative, got burned, and now become very risk averse. I can coach in properly rebalancing that approach. And take note again, patience, it has another value which is in the sense of compounding. Warren Buffett is one of the best examples. With proper compounding, he has built his wealth, majority of it, after his age of 66 only. If you're in this income group, you already have the blessing of good income. All you need is proper investments and patience. I can reassure you, you can reach a very comfortable retirement. Next income group, $300,000 to $1 million. If you earn above $1 million, some things may still apply. And the first part is that you are already in the accredited investors based on income alone. If you're earning more than $500,000, you'll be paying an income tax that is 6 figures, which is more than $100,000 in income tax. Many don't even earn that as annual income, yet you pay that as annual income tax. Private clients that work in this space know about tax relief, kind of all of them. And I'll guess that at such income tax level, it's really painful already. And it makes sense to spend some time to go and talk to friends, talk to advisors, to know of solutions. Usually you're smart, usually you are resourceful, you can find your own basic answers already. And as an accredited investor, you can get access to funds that are not available for retail, such as IPO placement, private equity, private debt, structured notes, so on and so forth. And I'll say that most are generally not too good, or they understate risk. You would probably have been getting offers all the time from the bankers that you work with, and I guess who you choose to work becomes vitally important for building your wealth. From my experience, you also likely have employee stock options. If you work in tech, whether it's Google or Apple, you may have built up a value that is in millions already. I have private clients working there. There are also many other US firms who have shot up in value recently. For example, Dell Technologies. Recent years is 10x, especially in the last few months. And the question now becomes how to diversify, how to move away from being too concentrated via your employee stock options. Because when a company runs up in share price, there's no guarantee it can stay there. Sometimes business climate change and it could be years ahead of decline. If you want to get to retirement, you've already built up that wealth, it makes sense to diversify. So that ending, you preserve your wealth better. You stay in retirement easily. Doubling your monies again may not be the first priority. Staying comfortably in retirement makes more sense. And again, buying other US tech stocks also don't make a lot of sense, because if your employee stock options are in US tech, you're already exposed in that sector and there's a lot of correlation. By the way, I've also private clients working in DBS. If you have already a lot of your employee stocks inside DBS, then it makes sense to diversify globally also. Main story is never be concentrated in one sector, and especially on the sector that you're still working in. That again is to diversify and protect your wealth. In conclusion, some principles apply to all income groups. Getting to retirement for everybody is not difficult. It does not need investments into hot sectors. It does not require big swings. In fact, the opposite is quite true. What is more important is typically to be consistent, to have the right financial habits, and to have the right investment habits. Be in equities, broad-based, for the long term. That's how each and everyone can compound towards retirement. And as always, if you like this video, smash the like button and check out these previous videos I have that can help you in your wealth journey. Take care as always. Goodbye.